At the start of this series, Declan faced the worst night of his life. That night, the person who came to kill him was someone close to him. He had never imagined that one day, he would meet his end at the hands of this very girl. But for Declan, the girl's fury had only intensified. She had made up her mind long ago tonight, she would kill him. Even in his final moments, Declan couldn't take his eyes off her. As he lay dying, he thought, "You still look breathtakingly beautiful." And with that thought, his story ended. After his death, a notification appeared: engagement breaking. Declan's death was essential for completing the mission. But this wasn't reality, it was a game that Eugen was playing. Yet, there was a glitch in the system, forcing Eugen to stay back at the office, working overtime to fix it. His full name was Kim Eugen, a game developer. After finally resolving the issue, he leaned back, allowing himself a moment to relax. The company he worked for had a reputation. Every game it released turned into a massive hit. Company, known for its groundbreaking innovations, was about to launch a new game. And this game was destined to be a sensation. This wasn't just another ordinary game. Every player's decisions would directly shape the plot. Each character had a personal backstory, making the game unique and deeply immersive. The entire world had its eyes on this game. Players could choose any profession: knight, mage, adventurer, devil hunter, noble, even a king. The possibilities were endless. Developing this game had taken immense effort. If it gained global recognition, the company would be swimming in money. But with success came great risk. If the game failed, the losses would be astronomical. That's why Eugen had to carefully recheck the character information. The reason for his exhausting overtime: a single character, Declan. Declan had developed a glitch, and Eugen's job was to fix it. Declan was supposed to be a senior professor, his full name Declan Bone Granchi. His fate had already been written. He was meant to die, killed by his own fiancée. This unexpected twist had caused numerous problems in the game. Just then, Eugen heard someone call his name from behind. Turning around, he saw a woman approach Yuha, the department leader under whom Eugen worked. But she was more than just his boss, she was also his ex-girlfriend. For 7 years, they had shared their lives together, experiencing every moment, side by side. But now, Yuha had become deeply immersed in her work. Eugen, on the other hand, preferred to drift through his days without much concern. He never took his job too seriously, and perhaps that's why Yuha had swiftly risen to the rank of department head. Yuha spoke. "I heard you've been working hard because of a glitch." It had been 6 months since their breakup, and rumors around the office suggested that Yuha had moved on. Eugen looked at her and said, "Seems like things are going well with the person you're seeing." Yuha smirked. "The rumors are about you too, Eugen. Looks like you won't be able to hide it anymore." Hearing her words, Eugen felt a sudden frustration, but there was nothing he could do. He simply responded, "I only wish things go well for both of you, at least until you marry." Yuha chuckled. "No need to be so sad, just focus on your work. Oh, by the way, the game writer requested changes to the Declan character." Looking at Declan's profile, Eugen scoffed. "This character, he's just a mid-level boss. Any player can easily defeat him if they're lucky. But the more the story progresses, the stronger Declan will become. It all depends on the player's choices." Yuha then casually remarked, "Did you know the character Declan was actually based on you?" Eugen was stunned. "What, you're joking, right?" Yuha raised an eyebrow. "Haven't you noticed? You two are almost identical." Eugen hesitated before replying. "I've only met the writer once. How could they have observed my characteristics in such a short meeting?" Yuha shrugged. "That's why every time I play this game, the first thing I do is kill Declan. Otherwise, he'll just become a bigger problem for me later. His personality is way too similar to yours." Declan had died cursing his own fiancée. Eugen looked down from the building, then turned to Yuha. "Isn't that your guy down there, waiting for you?" Yuha glanced towards the car parked outside. "Looks like I'm running late." Eugen sighed. "You shouldn't be standing here. Go, meet him. He's been waiting for you." Yuha smiled, waved goodbye, and walked away. Left alone, Eugen leaned back and stared at Declan's character one last time. He pondered, was the writer seriously inspired by me? Did they base Declan on me? The character possessed 6 key traits, but he was also considered a genius. As a child, Dekling was praised for his intelligence and regarded as a prodigy in magic. Yet, in reality, he was only average in magic. However, when you combined his pride, arrogance, and ambition, he became a high-ranking noble. His personality was deeply flawed. Every terrible human trait imaginable could be found in him. To the world, he didn't even seem human. Then, an idea struck Eugen. If Dekling was truly based on him, he had the chance to improve the character. So he made a change. He added understanding as Dekling's trait. Now, Dekling would make wise decisions instead of impulsive ones. But Eugen didn't stop there. He also granted him the wealth magnet ability so Dekling would never struggle financially again. Dekling continued adding abilities: sharp eyesight, iron body, and more. But after making so many enhancements, he realized he had gone too far. He attempted to restore the character back to balance when suddenly, his computer pinged with an incoming message from the game's writer. Eugen quickly messaged back, "Do you have any changes you'd like me to make? Let me know, and I'll update them immediately." The writer simply responded, "No, I'm just here to observe." Eugen found the reply puzzling. Then, the writer instructed him, "Look outside the window." Still confused, Eugen turned to the window, wondering what there was to see. His eyes widened as he noticed something surreal. A hole had appeared in the sky, and from it, lightning cracked violently. He was completely stunned. This was the first time in his life that he had witnessed such a phenomenon. Before he could process it, a massive bolt of lightning shot down straight toward him. At that moment, everything blurred, and Eugen was pulled into an illusion, falling deeper and deeper into its depths. He found himself in a strange place, kneeling before someone who spoke in an ominous tone. "Always remember this, child. You must remain vigilant at all times. Dekling is not an easy character. He cannot be cleared so easily. He possesses an ability that allows him to grow continuously. He simply writes his own destiny. After all, he is a villain." Then, another voice called out, "Dekling, wake up." In that instant, Dekling opened his eyes, finding himself face to face with a woman who was yelling at him. But it didn't matter to him. Nothing felt real. Because Dekling wasn't really Dekling, he was Eugen. Somehow, Eugen had been dragged into the world of the game, the very game he had developed. He had been here for a few days now, but it still felt like a dream. The woman scoffed, "You haven't changed one bit. I'm leaving some documents here. If you really want to act like a professor, at least get up and do your job, or you'll end up losing that too." Dekling, no. Eugen recalled what had happened a week ago. A sudden lightning strike had hit him. When he regained consciousness, he was in an unfamiliar place, trapped in a foreign body. And this place was the game he had developed. What made it even more terrifying, the body he now inhabited belonged to a character who was destined to die. Dekling, the mid-level villain of the game. Every player in the game would inevitably encounter Dekling, no matter what path they chose. He was the enemy of countless characters, making him a notorious villain within the game. And Eugen's biggest problem, he had no idea at what point in the story he had appeared. The only thing he knew was how much mana he possessed. But he had no clue how to use it, which meant he couldn't even defend himself properly. When the game was in development, Dekling had failed almost every test except for one. He had died in all other scenarios. Eugen glanced at the documents next to him. They belonged to Imperial University. In this world, Dekling was a senior professor, teaching magical understanding and the fundamentals of mana theory. The woman who had just scolded him, his half-sister. Technically, Dekling was the head of the family, but in reality, his sister controlled everything. Their relationship was far from harmonious. Then, Eugen suddenly remembered today was his scheduled lecture day at the university. He needed to get there immediately. Although Eugen had never given a lecture in his actual life, he had one skill that would help him navigate this situation. His mission for now was to deliver his lecture at the university, and his understanding skill would prove extremely valuable. However, using this elite ability would drain a significant amount of his mana. Before being thrown into the game world, Eugen had given Dekling several extra characteristics. And now, those traits remained with him. He had never imagined that those abilities would actually help him in the future. The room, the bathroom, the clothes, everything felt foreign to Eugen. Yet, at the same time, It all felt strangely familiar. He had already adapted to Decling's life perfectly. If the original Eugen had worn these clothes, he would have laughed at himself. But now, as Decling, he felt entirely comfortable in them. It was as if the world itself was whispering to him, "This body belongs to you now." Eugen realized that he couldn't act against Decling's personality anymore. For now, he had no choice but to live as Decling. As he prepared for his first lecture, everything still felt strangely normal, almost as if this was just another day in his life. Kim Eugen had always been a healthy man, slightly tall and averagely handsome. However, the words that hurt him most were Yuha's parting words when she broke up with him. "You're boring and lazy." Even now, as Decling, he couldn't forget those words. No matter what happened, if he let go of himself, then nothing in this world would feel real anymore. He got into his car, but as he glanced at the expensive vehicle, his mind drifted to Yuha's current boyfriend. The thought unsettled him. Just then, he noticed someone sitting next to him, a young boy. "Good morning, Professor. Here's today's lecture." The child was Decling's secretary, or rather, his assistant. The paper contained everything he needed to recite during the lecture. There was no room for questions. Decling was far too arrogant and talentless to prepare his own lectures. He always had others do his work for him. After reading the paper, Decling casually praised the boy. "Good work." The moment those words escaped his lips, everyone in the car froze in shock, including the driver. No one had ever heard Decling praise anyone before. Even Decling himself found it unsettling. He knew he wasn't actually Decling, but being in this body, complimenting someone felt extremely unnatural to him. It was against Decling's nature. Sometime later, Decling arrived at Imperial University, an enormous institution. His lecture hall was located in Royd Hall. The scene shifted inside Royd Hall. Students had already arrived, eagerly chatting amongst themselves. "I can't believe I'm finally attending Senior Professor Decling's lecture. He's a genius, one of the greatest of our generation. I heard he was an exceptional magician even as a child." Decling stepped into the classroom and spoke with authority. "Attention. My name is Decling Olin, and today, I will conduct this lecture as a senior professor of the Magic Tower. Let's begin." His entrance mesmerized many of the students, especially the girls, who were already swooning over him. After all, Decling wasn't just a villain, he was handsome too. However, among the crowd sat a girl who despised him completely. As she watched Decling, her mind seethed with resentment. "Finally, we meet. Decling, the man who was my father's greatest enemy. 3 years ago, her father committed suicide. For years, he had researched a powerful spell and was on the brink of completing his research. But before he could, his research papers were stolen. And the person who stole them, Decling. This man had destroyed her father and her entire family. She had lost everything. Her father's death had cost her not only her home, but also her territory and all her valuable possessions. In the end, she had nowhere left to go. That day, she had sworn to herself, "Whoever ruined my family, I will take my revenge." Since then, she had worked tirelessly day and night, never resting. And now, she had finally entered Imperial University. Unlike the other students, she knew something they didn't. Decling was a fraud. His spells and abilities, the very magic that earned him his reputation, had all been stolen from her father. How could someone who had robbed her of everything live so peacefully, enjoying such a privileged life? "This spot he stands in, my father was the one who deserved to be here." Her ultimate goal was clear: to expose Decling's true self and kill him. But she had to hold back. To pull him down, she needed the perfect time. Decling stood at the front of the hall. "Attention, everyone. Let's begin the lecture." He introduced himself formally. "I am Senior Professor Decling of the Magic Tower, a magician of Manhwa, possessing the capability to rule over elements. Today's lesson is a special lecture. I'm sure all of you are already familiar with magic to some extent, but allow me to clarify. Magic is divided into 3 properties and 9 categories. The first property is the foundation of magic. The second is the physical makeup. The third is the material medium. As for categories, there are 9. Spiritual, destruction, support, manipulation, ductility, enchantments, harmony, specialization. Decling lectured smoothly, his tone unwavering. Yet, deep in his mind, another thought lingered. This lecture is going much smoother than I expected. This wasn't just his first time teaching, it was also a subject he knew nothing about. Or rather, he was simply reading straight from the book. Fortunately, his understanding skill was helping him navigate through the lesson effortlessly. All eyes were fixed on him, yet despite being on stage, he felt no nervousness whatsoever. There was no pressure. Instead, it all felt strangely natural. Decling's characteristics made him a suitable educator after all. Continuing his lecture, Decling explained, mana can be utilized in different ways, depending on which part of the body it is stored in. Most magicians store their mana in their brain, making spell casting easier. Knights, on the other hand, store their mana in their heart's a vital organ that pumps energy throughout the body. And finally, mana can even be stored in one's bones. This is the most effective method, as it strengthens both internal and external capabilities. He continued, hard work is important, but talent and quality also play a role in mastery. Focus on your studies and lectures. Meanwhile, Decling internally thought, this is such an odd piece of advice coming from me. If I were the real Decling, I would never speak like this. Decling isn't as talented as people think he is. His current mana level was 3,375, but within the university, there were characters whose starting mana was 30,000. Honestly, instead of lecturing here, I should be sitting in the audience, listening. The thought amused him. He concluded his lecture, but his final words felt awkward. The real Decling would never end a lecture like this. However, he had no choice. His body was now different, so he spoke. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Silence. No one spoke, no one had doubts. Decling sighed. This was his easiest escape from trouble. He was just about to say, if no one has questions, let's end the lecture. But then, a student stood up. Professor Decling, a mysterious spell was detected last night in the dormitory. Some say it's a devil spell. Since you're a genius in magic, what's your take on it? Decling smirked. Are you really part of the magic tower? The student looked confused. What do you mean? Decling shook his head. If you're a part of the magic tower, you seriously need to learn basic manners. A student of the magic tower should not speak like an ignorant child. And with that, Decling attempted to leave, hoping to escape from further trouble. He had only 2,000 mana left. The lecture alone had already consumed 1,300 mana, thanks to his understanding skill. As Decling exited, the classroom erupted with laughter, mocking the student's lack of manners. But the student didn't back down. He shouted after him, wait a second. Magic Tower refuses to investigate this spell, calling it fake. But I believe you are capable enough to determine its category simply by looking at it, Professor. The student summoned the spell in his hands. It wasn't perfect, but it was clear enough to be analyzed. He then pleaded, I formally request you to examine this spell and tell me what you think. Decling glanced at the spell just once and his mana immediately dropped from 2,000 to 360. What? Just looking at it drained so much of my mana. Many magicians had already analyzed the spell in the dormitory, but none had been able to identify it. The student continued, Professor, if you can determine its nature, please explain it to us. Without hesitation, Decling replied, this is a barrier magic. The student stood frozen, stunned by Decling's immediate response. Decling elaborated, there's nothing special about it. Someone cast this spell in the dormitory to trap you all, that's all. Then, Decling walked out, leaving the entire classroom in shock. His lecture mission was complete, earning him 0.5 store currency. Later, in the university cafeteria, students sat down, eating their meals. Among them was the student from earlier, still fuming. Between bites of food, he muttered curses at Decling. I only wanted to expose his true nature by testing him with an unknown spell. And instead, he humiliated me. How dare he say I have no manners? As per protocol, when a student asks a professor a question, they must introduce themselves first. But for him, that was irrelevant. He didn't trust Decling one bit. He said it's a defense magic, but that can't be right. To cast such a spell, a medium is required. It's extremely tricky and difficult to perform. What I showed him was an exact copy of the mysterious magic circle from last night. I'm sure he has no idea what it actually is. Just then, A female student rushed over to him. "Hey, friend. They just confirmed the magic circle from last night. It's truly a barrier spell, a defense type." Friend's eyes widened in disbelief. "That can't be," the girl continued. Professor Deckling identified it instantly. Friend sat there, completely stunned. Impossible. How could he know? The girl waved goodbye and walked away. "We're submitting a report, by the way. I'll make sure to include your name." Deckling had provided unexpected assistance, but even now, she couldn't fully trust him. She believed Deckling was simply lucky, and this time, that luck had worked in his favor. "His reputation has risen, all because of me." She flipped through a research paper understanding elemental magic. It belonged to Professor Deckling, and as fate would have it, Deckling himself would be the instructor for this semester. A decision formed in her mind. I will attend his lectures. I will learn everything about him. The more I know, the easier it will be to defeat him. Just wait, Deckling. One day, I will crush you with my own hands. Meanwhile, Deckling walked through Imperial University's dormitory, relieved that his side quest university lecture mission was finally complete. He earned 0.5 store currency, but the entire event had almost turned into a disaster. The moment the student showed him the spell formula, his understanding skill activated automatically. A complex magic circle had appeared, an intricate web of intersecting lines. Just by looking at it, he lost a massive amount of mana. His skill had triggered automatically, and though it provided him with some insight, fully understanding the spell would have required double his mana reserves. Even so, he told himself to relax. Today has gone surprisingly smooth. Just then, someone called out to him. "It's been a long time, Deckling." As he turned, he saw a woman with snow-white hair and translucent eyes. A face he had seen many times before. She was Yulia Bone, his fiancée. Yulia spoke. "How have you been, Deckling?" Deckling's mind raced. Yulia, Deckling's fiancée, one of the most well-known characters among players. One day, she will reach the pinnacle. I never expected to meet her today. Deckling smiled. "Well, you could say I've been doing quite well." But Yulia's expression darkened, anger burned in her eyes. Their relationship had not been going well. She scoffed. "You say your days have been going well. After breaking the promise we made just a week ago." Deckling blinked. "Promise? What promise?" He couldn't remember anything. To avoid further conflict, Deckling attempted to leave. "I don't recall making any promise, so, if you'll excuse me, I need to go." But Yulia blocked his path. "Are you thinking of running away?" "Just like last time," Deckling sighed. He now understood Yulia had no intention of letting him leave. Realizing this, he said, "I've been incredibly stressed lately. Maybe I forgot. If you could remind me, that would help." And so, Yulia recounted their promise. A week ago, she had asked him, "Promise me this, stay honest with me, abandon all your past sins, and acknowledge every wrong you've done. No matter how broken this world becomes, I will stay with you." But now, standing before him, Yulia's words had changed. "It was my mistake to ever trust you. Get out of my sight, just seeing you fills me with rage." Deckling watched her one last time, then turned to leave. "If that's how you feel, then I'll be on my way." Yet Yulia was still furious. She wanted him to change, to choose a better path and work alongside her. Deckling and Yulia had once been engaged. Deckling was a genius magician. Yulia was a knight, born with talent. Their marriage had been arranged, set up by her brother. It was a political marriage, the kind that often took place among noble families to preserve their bloodline. The noble families involved were Ukline and read into powerhouses no one dared challenge. No one had opposed the marriage. Their combined strength made them unbeatable. For Yulia, this was her duty, a commitment to her family. Though she never loved Deckling, her loyalty to her family remained unwavering. But time passed. Eventually, both families discovered the truth. Deckling had no talent. His true nature had been exposed, yet they refused to acknowledge the reality. To protect Deckling's status, they published a new research paper under his name, a magic circle spell. Deckling was then made a senior professor at the Magic Tower. It had now been 3 years since he became a professor. Yet, in those 3 years, his research had made no progress. Still, both families kept the truth hidden. They wanted no rumors, no whispers behind their backs. If the truth spread, their family reputation would crumble. In the political world, both noble families were bound together. They couldn't afford a scandal. Yet, among all this, Yulia felt suffocated. She had been forced into a marriage without love. But there was nothing she could do, and so, one day, she had approached Dekling and made her promise to him. And Dekling had accepted it. Whatever you ask, I will do. Yulia had thought that night would be the happiest of her life. She believed that everything was finally falling into place. Yet, in the end, Dekling broke his promise. The next scene shifted to Imperial University's Magic Tower, the most prestigious institution in the entire game. Its facilities far surpassed those of any other university. Within this university, the magic department was ranked the highest, towering above all others. The campus was beautifully designed, featuring grand structures, lush gardens, and stunning flowers. Dekling thought to himself, when we created this game, Eugen and his entire team worked tirelessly day and night to perfect every detail. If I hadn't stepped into this world, I would have never realized how breathtaking it truly is. Suddenly, someone came running toward him fast. Dekling instinctively tensed. As he turned around, his assistant collided with him, having rushed in too quickly. The boy stumbled backward, falling to the ground. I'm sorry, Professor, the boy gasped. I had something urgent to tell you, so I ran. I didn't see you. Dekling exhaled. For a second, I thought someone was attacking me. But no, this was just the same assistant who had handed him the lecture notes earlier. Dekling asked, "What's your name again?" Juro, the boy immediately corrected him. No, my name is Alan." An awkward silence lingered for a moment. Dekling sighed. "Seems like I mixed up your name." Alan shook his head quickly. No, it's fine. You can call me whatever you like." Yet, in the back of his mind, Alan couldn't ignore how strange it was. My name isn't even close to Juro. How did he confuse it? Dekling and Alan arrived at the professor's office, where Alan handed him some documents. Dekling skimmed through them before speaking. So, this was the urgent matter. Alan nodded. Yes, Professor. This is the sponsorship list. These are the names of the students receiving sponsorship this year as new magicians. These sponsorships help students tremendously. They can cover their expenses and advance their studies. All professors in the Magic Tower can choose students they want to sponsor. Dekling's gaze fell upon one particular paper. A student's name glowed in golden color. This reaction wasn't random, it was an ability he possessed. Wealth Magnet. A rare skill, it automatically detected financial potential in people, highlighting their name in golden light. The more details available on a person, the more accurate the skill worked. Dekling also had another rare skill, Sharp Eyesight. It analyzed a person's attributes, revealing hidden details that others couldn't perceive. These two abilities worked best when combined, enabling him to assess students efficiently who had the best potential, who could generate the most wealth, and who was worth investing in. Scanning the list, Dekling noticed several gold-marked names. But one name shined brighter than the rest. Efren Luna. Luna wasn't just any student. She was a major character in the game. According to the original storyline, her father had been killed by Dekling himself. Dekling flipped through her documents, realizing something troubling. She had received no sponsorship. He turned to Alan. Why isn't Luna sponsored? Alan hesitated before answering. Professor. If you're asking about Luna, most people take a step back. Dekling thought to himself, of course, this is because of me. She was a girl who had never enrolled in an academy. She had learned magic through self-study, mastering it on her own. Her talent was beyond unrealistic. Yet, Luna wasn't just Dekling's enemy. In truth, Dekling was her enemy. If the storyline continued as it had in the original game, then one day, he would die. Just like he had in the game, Dekling had died in countless ways throughout the game. But he had one specific skill that kept him alive longer: Villian's fate. This skill ensured that he couldn't be killed easily. His death would come only by his fiancée's hands. A hidden assassination, poisoning, or even a bombing during travel. Regardless of how, his death was inevitable. But now, Eugen, trapped in Dekling's body, knew he had to make different choices. Choices Dekling would have never made. Only then could he survive. So, without hesitation, he signed the paper, confirming Luna's sponsorship. He handed it to Alan. Submit this. Also, take this book back to the library. I borrowed it earlier. Alan nodded, taking the items before leaving. Now, Declan sat alone in his office, deep in thought. If I want to survive, I need money. After all, Declan had even died due to financial struggles. If I have money, I can avoid certain death traps. For example, by sponsoring talented students, he could secure allies that would help him later. But money alone wouldn't be enough. This world was filled with characters who wanted him dead. Sooner or later, they would come for him. If I truly want to survive, I need a fundamental path forward. I need to increase my power. Declan possessed average talent. But average talent wouldn't save him. Unless he properly prepared, he wouldn't be able to escape any death traps. Declan had one thing: he could rely on his unique abilities. Though he couldn't control all four elements, he had mastery over earth and fire magic. His talent in manipulation magic amplified his abilities. Beyond that, he possessed another special trait: Mad Touch. A rare skill that consumed massive amounts of mana, allowing him to unlock his potential. Combined with his existing abilities, he could control flying swords, attacking with precision. Many called this ability Flying Mind Sword. Yet, in reality, it was just advanced telekinesis, a form of basic manipulation magic that heavily relied on mental strength. At that moment, Declan read a book detailing magic techniques, including methods to levitate objects. However, he didn't need to read the entire thing. His understanding skill allowed him to absorb knowledge instantly. As he activated it, a magic circle formed, catching him off guard. A vast surge of energy erupted from the circle, embedding formulas directly into his mind. But the process wasn't painless. His body strained under the influx of information. Eventually, his vision cleared. He spotted a pen beside him. With curiosity, he decided to test his ability. The moment he focused, the pen rose into the air. Ordinarily, to use telekinesis, one needed to recite a spell, but for Declan, the spell was already loaded in his mind. He could lift objects instantly without incantations. Declan had never imagined that the character he spent days designing would become so useful to him now. Though this was still basic manipulation magic, the more he practiced and understood, the stronger he would become.